Howdy, and welcome to episode 61 of T-Shirts and Shawls. I'm Karen, and today is Monday, October 1st, 2018. So I had every intention of recording an episode last week on Thursday because I need to talk all about Into the Wool, which I'm going to this episode. But Wednesday night, I got very, very ill. And so that derailed me for a few days and kind of got everything off track. But I'm back, I'm feeling a lot better and ready to talk to you all about Into the Wool as well as a few other things. It is right at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. So I'm going to do the drawing for the winner of the third quarter Knit Along, Crochet Along and announce the theme for the fourth quarter. So make sure that you watch for that and see, especially if you finish something in the third quarter, see if you happen to be the winner. But mostly it'll be about Into the Wool and my experiences at the retreat. I guess not even last week, it was the week before last. I went to Into the Wool. So this is the shirt that was an additional cost, but if you wanted to get the shirt, then you could do that. I definitely, especially since I love t-shirts, I wanted to get the shirt, and I'm glad that I did. I love the color, and the logo is fun. So Into the Wool is a retreat in Tennessee. It is kind of in the eastern part of Tennessee. It is at I believe it's a gymnastics camp. So normally that is who is there. So there are cabins with bunk beds and other types of things. So it's a camp-like environment. And there were 91 attendees. I think 100 is the cap. And this year the count was 91. And that included the vendors. Because the really nice thing about this retreat is that vendors, and not to say that other fiber festivals don't think this, but at this retreat, vendors are very much treated like not just people too, but they're treated as knitters and crocheters. That they're not just there to be a vendor. That's one of the things that I sometimes get a little sad about when I am vending at fiber festivals, because I'm in the vendor hall the whole time. I can't go and take classes. And you know, I'm a knitter too. I enjoy doing those things. So it's sad to have to miss out on those. So at this retreat, what they do is the vendor hall is actually only open for 2.5 hours for the entire retreat. An hour and 15 minutes on Friday and an hour and 15 minutes on Saturday. And the rest of the time, we are retreaters. So that made it a really, really nice experience, kind of the best of both worlds type of thing. So I don't remember exactly when I heard about Into the Wool, but this was the 5th year. I've probably known about it for well over a year. And it was kind of in the back of my mind on a list of events that I would like to go to someday. And then last year in November, they did a call for vendors, and I thought, why not? This is a retreat I've thought about going to. Why not try to be a vendor? So I went ahead and submitted my application and was very happy to have gotten chosen. So with that in mind, it was just as far as recommending this retreat, I highly recommend the retreat. It is not very expensive. And you are sleeping in bunk beds. You have to bring your own bedding and whatnot. So it's not, you know, the most luxurious accommodations, but really it was just fine. The food was not super fancy, but it was good food. You know, we had a taco bar, we had a one night for dinner, we had pasta bar one night for dinner. So I mean, you know, you're not going to get anything super fancy, but it was still good. It was delicious, and never went hungry at all. It is a very good value for the money retreat. There are a lot of wonderful people there, very friendly. There is the small vendor market. There are optional short classes that you can take, or if you want, you can teach. And yeah, overall, it was just a really good experience. So I highly recommend the retreat if it is something that you are potentially interested in. There is a Ravelry group that you can go to kind of read more about it. And then February 1st is when the sign-ups are. So the retreat will take place in September again next year, but the sign-up date will be February 1st. And this year, the retreat filled up really fast. So if you are interested in potentially signing up for next year, put February 1st on your calendar now. Set an alarm on your phone now so that you can remember that, because you definitely don't want to miss out if this is something that you are interested in. Okay, so with that in mind, so my experience, so I drove. It was a 12-hour drive, so I split it up over 2 days. And on my way up there, I stopped in Memphis. And then when I drove from Memphis to the retreat place, I stopped in Nashville at a yarn shop, and in the What I'm Stashing section, I'll talk about that visit to the yarn shop and show you what I bought there. And then I went on to the retreat center. As vendors, we were able to get there a day early, so we could set up and kind of get to know the other vendors. And so I arrived there on Wednesday. The retreat itself started on Thursday, and set up my table. We were given a 6-foot table, again with the idea that the vendor market was a very looked forward to part of the retreat, but it was not the length of the entire retreat and wasn't going to take up all of our time. And so the organizers are, I think, pretty smart about this, giving us a limited space so we don't feel like we have to bring like all the grid walls and everything and take hours and hours and hours to set up. You can just set up pretty quickly. So I got set up, met some of the other vendors who were also setting up, then went off to my cabin. So basically it was set up where there are 10 bunk beds in the cabin. And then there's an adjoining bathroom to another cabin that also has 10 bunk beds. But there were not that many people in each cabin. There were 4 of us in our cabin. So we got to spread out a lot. Anyway, so bunk beds, we had to bring our own bedding. But again, not luxury accommodations, but it was just fine. So I got settled into the cabin, and then we met back up for dinner. I met with all the other vendors, and we all went out to dinner as a group, which was really nice. There are 8 vendors total. So it was nice to really get to sit down and get to chat with other people. Most of them were yarn dyers. There was one that was a bag maker, and just a little FYI, if you are a vendor possibly interested in the retreat, I know the organizers would love, I mean, everyone loves yarn dyers, but they would love to get other types of vendors, so people who maybe do something besides yarn dyeing. So the bag maker was really great. If you do a lot of stitch marker, I mean, obviously fiber related to knitting and crochet, but if you do something that's not yarn dyeing, you might have a really good chance of being picked as a vendor. So just a little FYI there. Vendor applications should be out in November. Anyway, so it was a fun experience to get to chat with the other vendors and to spend time getting to know them. There was only one other one that I already knew, also from Texas, Allie of Savvy Skeins. And then the other ones were all new to me, so it was fun to get to know them. And then we went back to the gym of the retreat center, and I hadn't realized that being a vendor also meant that I was signing up as a volunteer to help with the last details of putting the retreat together. It was totally cool and a lot of fun, but I hadn't realized that going into it. So after dinner, we came back and we stuffed goodie bags. So we were supposed to have like this assembly line system, but we went out, to a Mexican restaurant. We all had some margaritas. The assembly line probably didn't go as the organizers had planned, but we got the bags stuffed, and I think they were mostly stuffed right. So anyway, At this point, I will tell you about the goodie bag. First of all, this is the bag itself. So this, I actually have this style of bag in another bag, and I love this bag. It's got a nice zipper up here, so a nice roomy interior, and then it's got these pockets out here. It's one of my favorite bags, so I'm thrilled to have a second one with a different logo on it, so that is a lot of fun. And then there were sponsors that sent in things for the goodie bag, so I want to give shout outs to the sponsors. Leon Alexander Yarns, there were different colors. One of the nice things about stuffing the bags is we got to stuff our own, so there were lots of colors to choose from, so we got to pick the ones that we kind of liked for ourselves, for those that did have choices. Then there is, let's see, who is this? Lofty Loops Yarns, coming to cover up. Some of these have coupon codes, so I want to try to make sure I'm not showing those because they should only be used for retreaters. So Lofty Loops Yarns, so there is the little mini skein that we got there. We got an Into the Wool sticker. We got an Into the Wool needle gauge from Catrinkles. The same, my needle gauges I also get from Catrinkles. So that's really cool to get an Into the Wool one. We got a little stitch marker from Exchanging Fire, and there were several different varieties, but I picked the one that is a little Starbucks coffee mug. Then again, I want to make sure I'm not showing off any coupon codes. Okay, so that's the side of the coupon code. From Adorn It, there is this super cute stitch marker with this, actually it's a progress keeper with this little frog. From Miss Babs, make sure, okay. From Miss Babs, there's a little sample of this heavy lace weight merino cashmere and silk. From Arkansas Yarn Co., there is this pink little sample. There was, let's see, show that at the end. There was the Retreat cup. So this is a really nice Tervis tumbler coffee mug with Into the Wool logo on it. So that is really nice. And I'm going to be drinking water throughout this episode because, again, I've not been feeling well and want to make sure to keep my voice going. So I'll use that to kind of go with the theme. And then this is kind of crazy, you guys. So the organizers are Dana and Tiffany, and Dana is the dyer behind Unwind Yarn Company. In every goodie bag, 91 participants, people, remember that. Every goodie bag, we got a full skein of yarn. Full skein of yarn. Think of how many skeins of yarn she donated. Tiffany, the other organizer, she is also the project bag. She made us all bags. Every goodie bag got one. Look how big the bag is too. Full-size bag. And then the other side is vinyl. So a clear bag, pretty bag, clear so you can see the project inside. And notice the colors work together. And then, again, I'm going to make sure, don't show the coupon code, a free pattern by Lisa Ross, who is also at the retreat. You've got the fingerless mitts, or make sure I'm covering up the coupon code. On the other side, you've got the full mittens, fully covered. So there's a free code, which I need to keep this out of my desk so I can make sure to get the pattern. And the pattern that uses the yarn. I can't believe that. We got a full kit, basically, in every single goodie bag. It's just crazy, crazy wonderful. And I believe that was everything in the goodie bags. No, there was a ring, which I am not showing because it's a ring of coupon codes. There were designers who gave out free patterns, and so everyone got, I think it was 5 or 6 free patterns. And then there were other businesses, yarn dyers, that gave out coupon codes for discounts for attendees. So it is a crazy good goodie bag. Definitely wonderful and fabulous, and thank you to all of the sponsors who donated things for the goodie bags. the retreat hadn't even started yet. I'm still here at the vendors. So we stuffed the goodie bags and we went to bed. I will say none of my roommates were vendors. So my cabin, I was the only one in it that first night. And the attached cabin that was attached to the bathroom, there was also nobody in that one the first night. It was a little creepy. It wasn't like I was scared at all. There was no reason to be scared. But I mean, you know, you're kind of alone in this wooded area. Not very many people are in the camp at this point, and I basically picked the bed furthest away from the door, and it was fine. I slept okay that night. But yeah, there was a little bit creepy. I was really happy once my roommates showed up, and we were able to not be alone in that cabin. The next morning, the vendors met for a late breakfast. Everyone else seemed like it was an okay time, but 10 o'clock is a late breakfast to me. But we met for a late breakfast, and again, just got to spend some time with just the vendors, which was really, really fabulous. And after that, we went back to the camp to do a few more last minute things before the attendees started arriving at 2 o'clock. So when 2 o'clock came, we actually, some of us vendors helped out with the check-in so we could make sure to get the right goodie bag to the right person. Because we also had the name tags and the t-shirts, the correct size for people who ordered shirts in the goodie bags. So we had to make sure the right bag got to the right person. And I helped out with that for a while. And then I went to go meet my roommates, and I need to grab stuff. So I'm going to stop this and come right back. So I went back to the cabin to meet all of my roommates. One of them I already knew mostly. I had met her in person briefly a few years ago, and then when she lives in Texas, and then she moved away, and currently lives on the East Coast. But I told her about the retreat, and she was excited about it and decided to attend. And so it was fun to get to spend time with her. So her name is Connie. You might have seen her if you follow my newsletter. She is a crochet designer, and she has designed several patterns using my yarn. So here is her business card, and you get to see her photo too. So this is Connie of Crochet, etc. As she kept saying, with only one et. So crochet, etc. and the et and the crochet is the et of etc. Anyway. So if you do crochet, check Connie out. She's got some really fabulous designs. And if you want to learn to crochet, she's also a crochet teacher, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. And she's a fabulous teacher. So I was really excited about getting to see her and to spend time with her. And then my other two roommates were Tracy and Danny, and they were both into the wool, I guess, veterans. They had been to the retreat multiple times, and so they, they knew all the ropes. And so it was nice to, especially Connie and I were both new to the retreat, to be able to have them to talk to and find out about things. But apparently there was one thing that either I completely overlooked, slipped my mind if I did hear about it, or I just completely did not get the memo. Apparently bringing gifts for your roommates is a thing, and I feel like a complete tool because I did not do that, and all three of my roommates did. So first of all, thank you so much to you guys, and I am so sorry that I am an idiot and did not even think to bring you guys gifts. So I walk into my cabin to meet them, and I see two gifts on my bed. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, the gift, I'm gonna go grab it. I've already put some of these in my knitting basket, so I'm gonna grab these so I can make sure to share about them. So anyway, so I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go ahead and open the gifts, and find the other one. There it is. And the first one is basically they looked at our Instagram accounts and watched the podcast and kind of got to know a little bit about each of us to pick good gifts. So the first one from Tracy, she noticed that I am a Doctor Who fan, so she found this yarn that is a Doctor Who related colorway, and it is So from Nerd Girl Yarns, it is hand spun. So the comb top was Who's Your Doctor? It was a fiber club. And the color is Scientist, Strategist, Drone, Eternal, and the Supreme. So yeah, hand spun yarn, Doctor Who inspired. Fabulous, fabulous gift. Again, I feel so bad that I did not give any gifts. So thank you for an awesome gift. Danny was, again, since she knew about Into the Wool, she knew that we were all going to get, she didn't know what kind of cup, but she knew we were all going to get cups, and everyone's cup was going to look the same. And if, especially if you wanted to use it at the retreat, there you had to, you know, find some way to differentiate. I noticed a lot of people yarn bombed their handles. That seemed to be a big way of differentiating. But she came prepared by bringing us vinyl cutouts with our names. How cool is that? So we were able to put those on our cups right away and to be able to distinguish which was our cup immediately. So that is fabulous. And then she also apparently has been making lotion bars. So the first one is this vanilla lotion bar, and she was very sneaky about trying to figure out if we were bothered by scents and what our favorite scents were. She gave us another reason for asking. Anyway, so my favorite scent is vanilla, and this is a vanilla scented. I know you can't smell it, but it's also a little flower shaped. I don't know if the camera is showing you that, but a little lotion bar, which is great. I love the solid lotion bars for when you're knitting and your hands are getting a little dry, because they usually aren't greasy at all and they absorb right in, so that way you don't have to worry about it getting your yarn dirty. And then she also has a lotion stick, and because I did say that I do get sensitive to scents, the lotion stick is a no scent added. When I first saw this, I thought it was chapstick, but it does say that it's a lotion stick. So that's really nice, because again, if you've got just a little area like on the back of your hand, you just rub the little stick on and you've got some lotion. So thank you so much for those gifts. And when I was telling Connie, I feel like such an idiot. I didn't realize we were supposed to bring gifts. I didn't bring anything. Did you bring anything? And she was like, yeah, I did. So again, I feel even worse. So one of the things that Connie brought was little stitch hoodies for needles. And the one she picked out for me has Wonder Woman on it. Apparently this is made by Fiddledee D, who is from her area in Virginia. And then she also brought mini skeins from her yarn shop that she goes to in Virginia. And so picked out this one, and then at the end she decided we could pick out two. So, and this one is like a really hot pink, which is not showing up on the camera. It's kind of, the color isn't quite right. So yeah, so I got two mini skeins from her, and then she also had brought stitch markers for the stitch marker exchange, and she let us go ahead and have our first choice of those. So I did have a little box of stitch markers, and I let them pick out stitch markers. Yeah, like I said, I was not prepared at all for that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for the gifts, and I'll just say all of my roommates were really, really fabulous. Definitely would be interested in rooming with them again if they would want to room with me after my guffaw of not bringing gifts. Anyway, I'm sure it's not as big of a deal to them, but yeah. Anyway, so then it was time for the opening kind of welcome. And the welcome, we were all gathered in one section, and on our little ring where we got all the coupon codes for the patterns and things, there was a number. So everyone had their own number, and that was how they were giving out door prizes. And Dana had mentioned that they got an overwhelming number of donations from sponsors for goodie bags, or for prizes, for door prizes, but I hadn't realized how big of a response she got until she was pulling random skeins of yarn and some project bags and other things from the giant box of donations. and just starting with number 1. Here you go. Number 2, here's yours. Number 3, here's yours. Every single person, again, 91 attendees, got a door prize at the opening event. Every single person, because that's how generous the sponsors were. Again, thank you so much to the sponsors. So I got this set of mini skeins from Space Cadet. So I actually have followed Space Cadet yarn for a while. The newsletter is really interesting, and so I subscribe to that. But I don't think I've ever actually had some Space Cadet yarn, so it's really exciting to get this. And so there are 5 mini skeins, and they go from a gradient from a dark all the way around to the lightest one. So I'll have to figure out something wonderful to do with that. So thank you especially to Space Cadet for providing that door prize. And there were enough door prizes that at the final event, about half of the attendees got a door prize. Unfortunately, that one was more random, with random numbers being called, and my number was not called. So I did not get a door prize at the end. But you know what, guys? Look at all the stuff I've shown you so far. It's just an overwhelming, just wow. Really, really fabulous, wonderful goodies that we got to take home. So if it is something that you're planning to attend in future, and this is not even counting market purchases, if it is something you are attending in the future, if you're flying in, you might want to make sure that you really have extra space in your suitcase, or even bring an empty suitcase to be able to take home all the wonderful stuff that you get. Okay, so after that was dinner. I think that was the night of the taco bar, and just kind of getting to know people. The retreat was pretty much freeform, so you could do whatever you wanted. Dinner was at specific times. There were classes that were at specific times. You did have to sign up for classes in advance because they were kind of limited to 10 people. And so so if you had signed up, you could do that. There were other like various swaps. There were sock yarn swaps, stitch marker swap, mini skein swap, a fiber swap, a smashed penny swap, a Starbucks mug swap. So I mean, kind of a lot of things going on that if you wanted to participate, you could, or you could just sit around and knit and crochet and spin. It was completely open and up to you what you wanted to do and how you wanted to handle your retreat. So I won't go like a play-by-play of everything that happened. I'll just say that I spent a lot of time in the cafeteria because it was a little hot. So I was inside in the air conditioning and just getting to know lots of people and talk to people, work on various projects. And I did take a class and I did teach a class. So the class that I taught was how to crochet without how to cable without a cable needle. The class I took was how to crochet. We'll talk about that in a minute. So how to cable without a cable needle. And I have taught this class before, and I have a YouTube tutorial for how to do this. It's one of my absolute favorite things to teach. Because I find it extremely useful when you are doing cables to not have to juggle a cable needle. So had a great class. There were 9 people in there, and they thought that it was just the most fabulous thing that they've learned. They picked up on it like that. They were excellent students. I'm very excited about it, and I feel so happy that 9 more people know now how to cable without a cable needle. And I'm thrilled that I was able to help them with that. 2 people in the class had never cabled before at all, so I was also able to kind of teach them how to cable, so that was exciting. So it was a really great class, really great students. And I took how to crochet. So it is something that I've thought about doing, for a while, in my spare time, because I have that. But Connie, so my good friend Connie, was teaching the crochet class, and I know she's an excellent crochet teacher, and I thought, you know what, why not? Why not take the class, learn from her? I'm going to be spending the whole weekend with her, so if I want to practice and if I have questions, she's right there, I can ask her. So I went ahead and took her class, and yes, she is absolutely a fantastic teacher. She was a little worried about, it was 10 people was the largest class she's taught. I think she's taught up to 6 before. So she was a little nervous about how it would go. She didn't need to be nervous at all. She did fabulous. Everyone seemed to pick up on it. And we got through quite a few things, quite a few basic stitches. And she basically gave us yarn to be enough yarn to knit a square, although it was 7 by 9, so technically not square, but a block for an Afghan for the Warm Up America project. So my goal was by the end of the weekend to finish that block so I could give it back to her so she could add it to the Afghan. And I did finish the block. So I actually spent a good time during the retreat crocheting. So I was practicing doing the various stitches on the block, and I ended up going ahead and doing a second one. So I completed 2 blocks. I did post a picture of the first one on YouTube. Totally forgot to post a picture of not on YouTube, on Instagram. Totally forgot to post a picture of the second one. The edges are a little wonky because apparently there were times where I didn't quite get that last stitch, but she showed us a trick with using a stitch marker to help you see where the stitch is, so that you know that you've gotten to the last stitch on each row. Anyway, so she was a really great teacher, and mostly the reason I want to learn to crochet is because I want to make amigurumi. Because I think I've done knitting amigurumi, and it's a challenge to do shaping and knitting, and I know this is probably complete naivete on my part, but for crocheting it seems like it's easier to do some of the shaping. So that's why I think that it would be easier to crochet amigurumi. Anyway, so I came home, and so this is after the retreat, and I watched a tutorial video and crocheted a little ball. I still have the end I need to finish off, but I crocheted a little ball. So I started here, learned how to increase, and then up here learned how to decrease, and yeah, and stuffed it, and I have a little ball. So so that's really exciting. Fingering weight yarn and everything. I want to do amigurumi in my self-striping yarn, so that's kind of the goal. This was yarn from Brazen Stitchery. If you watched the previous episode from the socks that I finished, it was in a project bag still, so I just grabbed it and used it as this practice. And I think that's fun, so I'm really happy about being able to do that, and hopefully I will keep going with the crochet and keep developing those skills. The other thing, the people who taught, it was a volunteer type of thing. We weren't paid to teach, which I'm completely happy to volunteer to show people how to cable without a cable needle. But Tiffany, T names, Tiffany, who was one of the co-organizers and who does project bags, she actually made these little notions pouches for all the teachers. So once again, like that project bag, you got the fabric and then the vinyl panel. It's got a zipper, so nice little notion pouch there. So that was our little thank you. So I guess we did get paid a little bit. Gonna go grab some other things and be right back. So I probably could go on and on about Into the Wool, but it probably is not the same to hear kind of a play-by-play of, hey, I sat with these people and we talked about this, and then we did this, and then we did this. So just a few kind of fun things. If you are a late night person, there were people that would stay up really late. There was karaoke. I did not do some of those things. Not so much because I'm not a late night person. I mean, I'm not. But because I'm very much an introvert, and you know, it is great to be able to go out and to see and get to talk to all of the people, but I made sure to have enough time that I took for myself to kind of recharge and re-energize. But one of the really fun things was a spinning wheel tasting. So there were a few people who brought their wheels that you could try out, And so Connie had never spun before. She took a basic spindling class. That was the class she took. And then made her try out some wheels, and she tried those. So it was fun to get to help her out. And then I tried out a few wheels that I haven't used before. And then one person had that e-spinner that's the pocket eel that is like this teeny tiny little spinner. And so it was fun to kind of talk to her and to see her demonstrate it, and I did get to spin on that for just a little bit. But the exciting thing is it kind of renewed my interest in spinning, because if you guys have watched the podcast, it has been a long time since I have talked about spinning. I did not bring either of my wheels to the retreat, but I have to say that kind of that spinning wheel tasting and getting to sit down and spin and watching other people spin during the retreat, it kind of made me, I really, really need to make sure that I sit down and have time to spin. So I didn't bring my my wheel in this room. It's out in the front room, and I'm not going to go get it. But hopefully I will have some spinning to show you guys soon, because I came back and last week on Wednesday I sat down for an hour and spun. A project that's been on my wheel for a while. So I was working on it, and then over the weekend I spent another hour or so spinning. So I have actually done some spinning, and the retreat kind of helped to re-energize my my desire to spin. I mean, I really do like to spin, and I need spinning in my life, so I need to make that happen. And I'm telling you guys that, so maybe you can help hold me accountable and say, hey Karen, have you been spinning? Make sure you're doing that. Doesn't necessarily have to be every day, but I would definitely like it to be every week for sure. And then maybe gradually getting to that everyday stage. But for sure right now, every week, which would be a lot better than I have been doing. So I want to keep that in mind. So that was a lot of fun. Any other things? Probably, you know, it's one of those experiences that it's probably not as much fun hearing someone talk about all the great fun that I had and you weren't there to experience it, but it was a really great retreat. And whether or not it's this retreat or another retreat, if you've never been to a knitting retreat, try to get to one. It's just a renewal. Getting to be around people who are interested in the things that you are interested in, and to get away from your day-to-day life, and just to get showered in experiences with yarn and fiber and like-minded people, and you just get to have lots of fun. So it was a really great retreat. I am so glad that I was able to go, and just a really, really fabulous time. And I got a lot of yarn, which I will talk about in the next section. So before I get to the yarn that I bought, either both at the retreat and on the way to the retreat, there was some yarn that I added to my stash before the retreat. So you guys, power of Instagram. There are times where someone posts something on Instagram and I'm like, oh, I have to have it. I've showed you some project bags that happen to. So if you've watched the podcast before, you know that I really like Must Stash yarn. Her self-striping yarn is amazing. And she posted a new Harry Potter colorway that she had just created. And it was one of those that as soon as I saw the picture, I instantly bought it. Like, I stopped everything and I instantly bought that yarn because it was just absolutely perfect. And this is the skein of yarn, which is not going to show you what it looks like because obviously all the colors are mixed in, but it is called Hogwarts. And if you are familiar with Harry Potter, there in the movies, there are two different styles of scarves that the kids wear. And the first 2 years, it's the wide stripes, and they're even stripes. And then after that, they have the narrow stripes, where there's the main color, and then the accent color for each house is a narrow stripe. So this is each of the 4 Hogwarts houses with the narrow stripe pattern for the yarn. So you've got I think how it was like the wide stripe and narrow stripe, wide stripe, narrow stripe, wide stripe for each. So that was one house, and then the next house did the same thing. I'm pretty sure that's the way the picture was. But it was one of those, like, I'm a Harry Potter fan. I love this. This is fabulous. I have to have it. And originally I was going to wind this and use it immediately, have this be the pair of socks that I was working on during the retreat, but the package, the post office decided that that it had trouble with the package. There was no problem with the package, but it got delayed, and it did arrive before I left for the retreat, but I had already, because I wasn't sure if it would arrive, I had already picked another skein of yarn and wound it and worked on socks, which I'll show you in the what I'm knitting section. So I didn't start that one yet, but that one will be soon. That will not sit in my stash for long. So I already mentioned that on the way to the retreat, I stopped at a yarn shop in Nashville. So it was called House of Yarn. So it was really easy. I was on I-40. This was not very far off I-40, so I didn't have to go very far out of my way at all. There was another yarn shop in Nashville that I thought about stopping at, but by that point it was getting really close to the time that we could start being there at the retreat center, and I kind of was tired of being on the road, and I just wanted to get there. Which apparently, I think that one was called Bliss Yarn, and people who did go said that was a fabulous shop too. But House of Yarn was really, really great. The only bad thing is there was so much goodness in there that was kind of all mixed in, like a lot of indie dyers, and I went around the shop multiple times, and each time I went in the section where they had a lot of the indie dyed stuff, I found stuff that I hadn't noticed before. So it seems like it's a shop that definitely kind of, you need to spend a little more time and really look at all the shelves, because there's a lot more in there than your first view might see. So with that in mind, there was a display of magpie fibers in the front, and I decided to go ahead and get, so it is magpie, the barcode is over it. I decided to get this yarn. It is a DK weight yarn, and I thought, if nothing else, it'll make a wonderful hat, but I'm not sure yet. It is a merino cashmere nylon DK weight yarn in the Ghost Town colorway. Then, I mean, they had Dream in Color and Dream in Color BFL sock. So I decided, you know what, I want to do more socks made out of BFL, so why not? And I'll probably do a pretty plain stockinette sock and let the yarn kind of come through with that. But that will definitely be socks, because I do want to make BFL socks. And then I also picked up some Anzula, and there were some other yarns there that maybe were a little more local to that shop, but I couldn't turn this down, even though I probably could have gotten this elsewhere. But this is a blend of 80% milk protein and 20% superwash merino. So I really wanted to give this a try. Just kind of thinking about different fiber blends. So, and the color is just gorgeous. So I gave this a try. And that is what I left that yarn shop with. Again, just starting out, then go to the market at Into the Wool, and first off there was the bag maker. So she had a lot of really great fabrics and great bag styles, and she had this one Harry Potter fabric in a bag that she had like a smaller bag that probably would have held like a 50-gram cake of yarn, so like do one sock, not even like a full pair of socks. But one sock, so I felt like it was a little too small to be a really good project bag, but also a little too big to potentially be a notions bag. But I really loved it, and I was kind of looking around at her other bags, and I don't know how I missed it, but the first few times I apparently missed that she had the same fabric in her larger bag. So I bought it. So first of all, it is Spinner's End Studio, and it is kind of a stained glass Harry Potter with Quidditch, zippered, got a nice handle there, which is removable if you want to use that possibly as something else. And then inside is the Marauders map fabric. So hopefully you can see that. So fabulous, fabulous bag. There's her little tag, Spinners End Studio. And the Joy, the person who does this, just a delightful person. I spent a long time talking with her. Really, really liked meeting her. And it's got some padding in it, so it's a nice squishy bag. And I'm looking forward to putting a project in it. Maybe I should put this project in it. So so that was a bag, and then the rest I got yarn. So basically what I did is I bought one skein of yarn from each of the vendors. I wanted to support each vendor, and you know, I didn't want it to go too overboard, but it was fun to pick out which is going to be the skein of yarn. So V yarn, and I love the little owl logo with the V there. So V yarn. This is Screaming Mandrake. So hey, I've got another Harry Potter reference. So an 80/20 merino nylon. I think all of them ended up being fingering weight yarn. So I got that one. So V yarn was one of the vendors. Another vendor was Ice Melon Stash, and she had a whole section of yarns that were based upon Supernatural, so the TV show. So I definitely wanted to get a Supernatural colorway. So this one has sparkle, which I'm not always a big sparkle person, but I could not pass up the colorway name. My people skills are rusty. And if you've seen Supernatural, something that Castiel does, and he does do the quotes when he talks about it. So that's the name of the colorway. So I do like the colors, but definitely once I saw the name, I was sold on that one. So Ice Melons Stash. Then Savvy Skeins, so the only one of the dyers that I had already known, so Allie. And I walked by her table and several times saw this colorway. I mean, if you know me, you know why this colorway drew me to it. So this is Stellarium on her Elite sock. So it is a merino silk 50/50, which by the way, merino silk 50/50 do not make socks. Your socks will not stretch. You will not be able to put them on. Don't do that. So this is going to be a shawl or something else, not socks. Just a little FYI. So Unwind Yarn Company. Again, Dana, one of the organizers of the retreat. And I'd already gotten, you know, in the goodie bag, a free skein of her yarn, but I wanted to go ahead and buy more yarn from her. And this one is a fingering weight. And again, colors really, really love. This is called Grand Budapest. So there's Unwind Yarn Company. Then there was Holly and Ivy Dye Works, and apparently this is a duo. And they're not actually named Holly and Ivy, but the one person was here, one of the dyers was at Into the Wool, and the other dyer was at another event that weekend, an event that I had actually thought about going to, and I would have if it hadn't conflicted, a new fiber festival in Mississippi called Fiber in the Sip, Fiber Fun in the Sip, something like that. Anyway, so it was interesting that they were at both events, and since it's a duo of dyers, each one was able to go. So this is called Down the Rabbit Hole, and so it is kind of a rainbow kind of color with those black specks in it. So there you go, Holly and Ivy, and it is a 75/25 merino nylon. So maybe socks, maybe something else, not sure yet. And then the final vendor was Bead Sisters. It's actually Blueberry Chick Yarn, the Bead Sisters podcast. Her name was Kay, and this is a tweedy type of yarn, so hopefully you can see the little tweed specks in it. And I just thought that was a really pretty color. This is Beauty Berry. So there is her card. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the bag maker and me, 8 vendors. So I was really happy to be able to get something from each of them. Some of them I bought, some of them we traded. That's kind of nice doing with vendors. None of this isn't on Ravelry yet, so eventually in the show notes I will link up to each of the vendors and each thing. But I need to add all of these to my Ravelry stash and think about projects and what I'm going to make out of them. I've got lots of exciting things to think about now. So that should be it for what I'm stashing. So what have I been working on all this time? I've actually put a little bit into a lot of projects. So some projects that have been on the needles for a while. My unfinished tortoise socks, I do have some updates on those. So this was the final stage 6 socks that are that unusual construction. I believe it's called the Sidewinder. So you start at the toe and then use short rows to make it look like it's spiraling. And then I'm here on the heel, and the heel is a short row heel. And I did half of the heel, and then I just started the other half, and I still need to finish that half. And then you basically go back into the spiral for a little while on the leg and then finish that off. This is still the first sock. These are socks I definitely will finish someday, but they're not a super top priority, and so I'm not sure how long they will take me, but I actually have worked a little bit on them, working on that heel. So, so made some progress there. I've also made some progress on another tortoise sock pattern. This is the 5th one with these gorgeous cables here. And I have just finished the heel part. So this morning actually, it was when I was working on picking up the gusset stitches. So I've done that, and I've done the first round with the decrease on the gusset. So that is where I am, and they always look kind of weird at this point here. But that is where I am, and this does that gusset that's on the bottom of the foot, just like some of the other tortoise sock patterns did. So that's why all the stitch markers are there to show like where I'm supposed to do all the various decreases. So I just got that set up this morning. Again, first sock, so still have a little bit more to go on that project. And now that tortoise sock is over, not a priority, but again, something I do want to finish. So I've worked on that. I have also worked on my Frostbrite shawl, which I started a while back, and I am now just at the halfway point. So the idea is that you have a main color, that's that kind of brownish red here, and then use mini skeins for the other colors. And there are 5 different colors. So my mini skeins are a pack of mini skeins that I got from Canon hand dyes. So there's the 3rd one, the 4th one, and I just finished the 5th panel and started the midsection to change colors, and it goes back to the first panel color and repeats them all again. So I literally have gotten to the halfway point now. And at first I thought maybe what I would do is instead of repeating them starting at 1 and going all the way through, I would go back, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so that both sides would match, and I would end with the green on both sides. But then I decided, you know what, I kind of like the idea of the one side being green and one side being the purple. So I think I am going to do as the pattern suggests and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then repeat colors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. So so that's a fun project. I kind of put it aside for a little while, focusing on some other things. And this one's been getting a little more attention since I've gotten back from the retreat. That seems to be a project I've put a little more work into. So hopefully that will make a little more progress, especially now that I've hit the halfway mark. Usually things seem to pick up speed at that point. Then I have my boxy, which I am still on the miles of stockinette section. So miles of stockinette, but those miles are almost over. I think I am down to 1 inch or maybe even less than 1 inch of before I start dividing for the front and back. So it'll be a little less mindless here in a little bit. So that is well underway. Then I have my 3 sheets shawl, which was supposed to be my 3rd quarter knit along shawl, because this is a project that has less than 20 projects in a pattern that has less than 20 projects in Ravelry, but obviously I did not finish that. But again, I showed this to you guys last time. I love the way the 3 cables kind of grow apart from each other, and this is a nice little edge. It's supposed to take 3 skeins of yarn. I worked on this at the retreat, finished the first skein of yarn, just about to start. The next skein is ready to go, just about to start it, but I haven't added on that second skein yet. So if it really does take all 3 skeins, I'm a third of the way through this project. So still quite a bit to go on it. But again, I am making progress. All of these I have made progress on, so I consider that good. Then the new socks, because last time I showed you guys I had finished a sock project. So new sock project, mustache yarns. I pulled one of my Star Wars colorways out. So grab, I thought I had there it is, the label in here. So mustache, one of her Star Wars collection. This is the, what is, it's the companion, so there's one, I thought she had a, okay, Jedi Mind Trick. There we go. That's what I was looking for. The colorway name is Jedi Mind Trick, and you could choose either Anakin or Luke, or you could choose the companion that had one of each, and that's what I ultimately ended up choosing. So I've started with the Luke colorway, and I did work on this at the retreat, and then I have since added the heel. And I picked up for the gusset, and I'm just about ready to start the decreases. So hey, I've got 2 socks that are kind of at a similar point there. So working on that first sock, and then the second one will be the Anakin colorway. So you can see they're definitely different colors, but you've got enough similarity where they're going to obviously go together. But this one is Luke, this one is Anakin. You can see the red in there for sure, indicates that. And I feel like I'm making pretty good progress on those. Hopefully it'll be a lot faster than the other pair of socks that I had on my needles for 8 or 9 months, something like that. I need to get a little more on the hand knit socks for myself, and not all the booth samples all the time. There might be something that will help me out with that, which I'll talk about at a later date. Just a little teaser there. But anyway, so I'm making pretty good progress on those, and hopefully they don't get stalled. And I do finish them, because I do, it's starting to get slightly chillier, although the temperatures are going back up for a little bit. But hey, slightly chillier, so the point where I'm going to be starting to wear hand knit socks. So I definitely want to have a few new pairs to add to this year's rotation. So hopefully I'll get these finished so I can wear them while the weather is cool enough to really feel like I can wear them. And again, there are still a couple of other projects on the needles. The Let Go cardigan that still needs sleeves that I have not started. Okay, again, weather's starting to get colder. I do want to actually work on that and wear it this year. So that means I gotta get busy. Guys, hold me accountable. Say, Karen, do your sleeves. Go on Sleeve Island. Spend a little vacation there, a holiday, and finish those sleeves. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I've been working on. I feel like I've kind of made some good progress, I hope. Haven't finished anything, but you know, have added to the progress of several different things. A couple of projects I really want to start, so I should probably make myself finish something before I start something new, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just gonna work on some new stuff too, and we'll kind of see what happens and how long it takes me to get the next finished project going. I really like being able to, depending on whatever mood I'm in, pick up a particular project, because sometimes I'm really not in the mood to work on X, and I'm glad that I have Y that I can pick up instead. but also adding in spinning time and maybe crocheting time. So yeah, I'm definitely asking a lot of my free time, but it's what I love to do, and I make time for it, and I'll just have to figure that out. And if some projects don't get finished as fast as I would like, then that's just what is going to happen. But that should be it for what I'm working on. Actually, one more thing I've been working on. I told you guys about that I've been doing some perler bead types of things, and I had made Buttercup from The Princess Bride. Well, I finished Wesley, so now I have the couple. And I just wanted to show you guys that I actually just finished him last night, so fresh off of the perler bead iron. The theme for the third quarter knit along, which just ended yesterday, was any shawl pattern that had been released in 2016 or earlier, and which only had fewer than 20 projects on Ravelry. So there's so many projects that fit that criteria, so many gorgeous patterns, and it was nice to shine some light on those. So I'd shown you some FOs from that have been posted already in the previous episode, and I wanted to show you the ones that have been posted since then. So the first one is from Ash Salt, and the name of the pattern is in French, so I will probably completely butcher this, but Une Manière de Faire by Rachel Henry, and it is a Tunisian crochet. So that is really fascinating to see what a Tunisian crochet project looks like. Then S. Martish finished Duplessis, and I really like the lace pattern on this, especially how it kind of develops throughout the shawl and grows. So that is really nice. Then Christy Rose finished Matsumoto, and it looks like this one is crochet. I think. I didn't double check, but it looks like it. Love the colors. I know this one is crochet. Dragon Fairies finished Aphrodite's Dance. So there's that, and some blocking pictures there. That. Harps 57 finished the Summer Presto shawl that still needs a bath and block, but even pre-blocking, I think you can see just how absolutely stunning that is. And if you can't see from the video, go to Ravelry and go look. It says that she will be blocking it later this month, so can't wait to see the fully blocked version. Care Bear finished Parchment Shawl, so this one is fun with all the colors. So another FO. And the Knitty Muggins finished Crazy Days Shawl, another one that isn't blocked, but again, you should be able to see the potential that that's going to be after it gets blocked, when the lace really opens up. And Blue Lynx has, she didn't post the name of this one, Fern Shards. So that is the pattern. And here is her FO picture. There you go. And if you want to get all of the details for those patterns and the yarns that were used, go to the Ravelry FO thread and you'll be able to find all of those details. So since the quarter ended yesterday, that means it's time to do the drawing for the winner. So the winner gets this yarn. It is a sport weight yarn from Toil and Trouble. In the Sea Glass colorway. And I picked this yarn because I don't know where it stands right now, but at the beginning of the quarter, this yarn had fewer than 20 projects posted in Ravelry for it. So I thought it really met the criteria for the knit along and crochet along. We actually had crochet projects this time, and Tunisian crochet even. So it's exciting. Anyway, so that's why I picked this yarn as the giveaway prize. So hopefully the person who gets this will, you know, no pressure, but hopefully add a project maybe soon and get the yarns project total up another one. So there were 18 posts in the FO thread. A couple of them were chat related posts, and so I deleted those. Remember guys, FO thread, no chat. there is a chat thread. So I'm going to do the random number generator and hope that it's actually an FO post and not one of the deleted ones. If it is a deleted one, obviously I'll redo the number. Anyway, so I use random.org for my, whenever I need to generate a number. I am going to do numbers 2 through 18 because the very first post is my post introducing it, so I don't need that to win. And then I'm just going to hit the, maybe I'll blow the screen up so you guys can see it. So there we go, 2 through 18, and then I hit generate, and the result says 8. So let's see, flipping back over to the post, who is number 8? 8 would be PTM Smith. So Mary, congratulations, your beautiful Turtle Trail shawlette post. So I had shown you guys, I hope I showed you guys in the last episode. I'm pretty sure I remember showing that one. Yeah, post number 8, Mary, you are the winner. So you get this yarn. I do know your mailing address, so I will send it to you, but hopefully you're watching this and finding out that you're the winner this way. For at least a few days, I'm not going to post it on Ravelry. I'm gonna let you find out through this video. So congratulations, and congratulations to everyone. You guys made some really gorgeous projects. I'm excited that we were able to add at least one more project to some of these patterns that really do deserve a little more love. And so it's exciting to find all of those. For the Q4 theme, we had some really awesome nominations. So if you have not seen the thread on Ravelry, here were the themes that were up for voting. Any shawl using yarn with a fandom-based colorway name. Any shawl that uses stash acquired before October 1st. Any shawl that strikes your fancy, any shawl with a season or holiday theme, any shawl by an indie designer, any shawl whose pattern was released in the past 12 months but has less than 20 projects, so basically a continuation of Q3's theme but with projects that have been released more recently, and any shawl that pleasingly uses up that skein of irresistible yarn that is stockinette looks like squirrel barf. Love that. Okay, so for a while, the votes were distributed among a couple of themes, and then 2 of them started to pull into the lead, but they were kind of neck and neck for a while, and then finally one theme pulled far enough ahead that I felt that it was a big enough lead to call it. So the winning theme is any shawl that uses stash acquired before October 1st. So that means if you bought something yesterday, September 30th, you acquired it before October 1st, you're good. So the idea is just don't go buy something new. Use something from your stash, whether that be from literally yesterday, depending on when you're watching this, or it could be 8 years ago. As long as it's in your stash already by October 1st, it's good. So that means the pattern, any shawl pattern that you want. So this actually kind of does hit some of the other themes. Any shawl that strikes your fancy. Well, now you can do that one as well. Any shawl with a season or holiday theme, you can go for that. As long as you've got the yarn in your stash, you're good. Shawl by an indie designer, check. Shawl that was released in the past 12 months but less than 20 projects, check. So it's kind of nice that this one's a yarn-based one. So especially if you liked one of those other themes, you can still pick a shawl that would meet those. Although that is not a requirement, but definitely very nice. In that last one, any shawl that will make that squirrel barf yarn look good. So it'll be fun to kind of dig into our stashes and see what's in there and come up with a good pattern that will go with it. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what you guys work on. I have been planning to do Sizzle Pop, which is a brioche shawl pattern by Leslie Ann Robinson. I bought yarn for it during the yarn crawl, so it was acquired before October 1st, and I've been really itching to cast that on, so I think that's probably going to be my Q4 shawl. So now that it's October 1st, I can get started on that, and I'm excited to see what you guys are going to work on. So I am sure there are things that I have forgotten to talk about. I have been reading some things. I will share that in the next episode. As far as Roundtable Yarns, the next event is the East Texas Fiber Festival, which is November 9th and 10th. So coming up really fast. I need to work on that. I also have I picked up a new yarn shop in California. I met the owner at the retreat, so I'm working on a wholesale order, and when I get that done, I will tell you where that shop is located. If you are in California, and if it's nearby, you could go visit there and check out some of my yarn in person. So yeah, there are a lot of other things going on, but I know that that the focus of this episode was the retreat, and so I hope that you enjoyed hearing about that. And like I said, it's an awesome retreat. I highly recommend it. Put February 1st on your calendar as the sign-up day, so you don't miss sign-ups if you do want to go, because it did fill up pretty quickly this year, so you don't want to miss out if it is a retreat you are interested in. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you will come over to the Ravelry group and participate in the discussion, and or post a comment here on YouTube. Let me know your thoughts, what you think, if you have any questions, anything you'd like me to talk about on future episodes. There's a questions for Karen thread over on Ravelry. My favorite part's hearing from you guys, so I'd love to hear all about it. If you've been to a retreat, tell me about your experience. Feel free to share that. So either here or over on Ravelry, come talk. Please join us for the 4th quarter knit along. Dig out yarn in your stash, pick any shawl pattern that you want, and participate, and I will figure out a prize. Still to be determined, but I'll get that figured out. And until next time, happy knitting!